Europeanisation as an apparent correlate to facial beauty and attractiveness. Now, this is a fascinating subject. It appears that within Europe, and probably dating back centuries previous to this, there started a change in facial form that has spread around the planet, and at one time was considered an educated, desirable, privileged appearance. And I think that that has turned on its head now. And we now feel the opposite. Now, it's a little bit complex. The first assumption that we need to remove is that the way you look, your facial appearance, is genetic. Although it's very comfortable feeling this, it's clearly not true. Any research into craniofacial dystrophy, viewing anyone who's had a stroke, viewing someone who's had musculoskeletal effects, it clearly shows that facial appearance changes, or any of the skull bases and the history. Now, what seems to have happened is, as food, the consistency, the hardness of food, the ease of gaining calories, the effort required to gain the calories has changed. So the effort we use with our musculoskeletal, the masticatory system, has reduced massively. There's a sea change difference. We must be using somewhere between 2 to 4% of the effort that we were using. Use it or lose it. And also, due to nasal obstructions and the allergies that are increasing, the posture's changing, and this is changing facial form. Yeah, it's not part of this discussion, that must be well understood. But the point is that facial shape is changing from the environment. Now, in the masses, this didn't really start occurring until about 300 years ago, and the masses are now caught up with the privileged few, probably 10, 20 years ago. But as far back as the Greek time, possibly further, but not as far as the Egyptian time from the skulls I've seen, and of the records often, which is statues and busts made of people. There seems to be, the Egyptians seem to be fine, but from sort of the Greek period, craniofacial dystrophy is quite evident within the privileged elite. And they remained a small percentage of the population up until probably the Industrial Revolution within Britain, that then spread across Europe, hence the Europeanisation, because it was a European thing that from the wealthy elite, gently further down into the masses, this change in facial form started occurring. Now, this is against a background of the masses with more or less perfectly straight teeth up, as I said, to about 200 years ago. And by and large, you've got these masses with these broad, wide jaws from using their musculature, forward growing faces, strong, firm chins, high cheekbones. These, what we would now refer to as excellent facial forms, were derided as common, not refined, not one of the privileged few. So I draw a parallel between sun tanning yourself, that in the past being white and untanned was a sign of not working in the field, so that was a sign of the privileged few. So being pale and pasty was considered a desirable feature. In the same way, having a slightly suffering from craniofacial dystrophy is an elite thing. Having low cheekbones, having a large nose, having a face that had melted back was considered noble, was considered something of the aristocracy, something refined. You've only got to go back to films like the Italian job to see a reference by Michael Klein to the wealthy car drivers. The comedy says the chinless wonders, because these were the groups that had no chin. But it wasn't seen as bad then, it was seen as good that these were the refined groups. It's only in the more recent time, like with being tan, being brown, that everyone now could be pale and pasty, that it has reversed. So it's now seen as being healthy. So the rich, the elite, are now tanned. So that's desirable. Can we now desire being tanned? Well, of course, as everyone has been affected craniofacial dystrophy, we have now reverted to the natural cognition, the natural desire for someone with facial form that has grown correctly. So this Europeanisation of facial attractiveness, it's a complex subject, and it has gone first one way and then it's gone the other way, with the whole world now reverting back to the norm, as we were hardwired to be attracted to people whose faces have grown correctly, so who look good, who have got wide square faces, have space for all their teeth, and it's, yeah, as I say, it's an interesting subject that I'm sure needs a longer debate.